Hello YouTube, this is Omagent here and welcome back to another zombie analysis video. In this video I'm going to be thinking about an idea that was recently posted by Benn Down on Twitter, which is that the events of Buried takes place at the exact same time as the events of Moon, and the end of Mind Games on Max's side you're actually witnessing the rockets hitting Earth from Moon, just from a different perspective. Now obviously this idea seems ridiculous, but is it? I'm going to look at the apparent reasons why this idea doesn't seem to make sense, and if they can be explained away. Firstly, the map involves the Green Run Quartet, who only met up after the destruction of Earth, therefore they must use some form of time travel to arrive back at Buried, if this is when it is set. This isn't really a problem, as time travel is a well-established plot device in zombies, having been used extensively throughout the series. It isn't even the group's first experience with time travel, as it was used between Green Run and Great Leap Forward, as the nuclear winter clears between the two maps. Secondly, Richtofen is still in control of the zombies and the demonic announcer in Buried, but this is easily explained by saying that they arrive at some point after Richtofen's ascension, but before Max's revenge, and because this length between these two events is not fixed, it's entirely possible for the events of a map to fit into this time gap. Then there's the appearance of the map. When you look at the sky above ground you can see fragments of the Earth. The rift itself is a byproduct of the Earth's shattering, so surely the map can't be set before it. But what if the two sections of the map, the processing area and the actual buried part, do not take place at the same time? After all, these parts are only connected in two ways: the slide, which could be a distorted piece of space-time, and the fountain portal, which could well be a teleporter capable of time travel. So the above ground section could be set after Die Rise, after Earth's destruction, but when you descend into the buried section of the map, you actually travel back in time to the events before the shattering during the events of Moon. This also explains the setting. The underground section of the map does have a distinctive Wild West theme, which doesn't match up with the setting of Resolution 1295 in Africa. But what if when we travel down the slide we're travelling not only in time, but in space as well? If the slide is indeed a distorted piece of space-time that connects these 2 points, the buried sections could be in America with the above ground sections in Africa, and the wormhole connects the two. Now it's all very well and good that the characters are able to move through time, but what about Richtofen and Maxis? When Samuel enters Buried, Richtofen converses with Samuel as if he knows him well.
You really are quite the center punch. Where would you be without me? No, Ben, that's Ben. I hate you so much!
Despite the fact he should have no idea at this point who he is, because events like the Flash and Transit haven't occurred yet. But we have to remember that Richtofen is in the ether, a different dimension that seems to exist outside of time, meaning that Richtofen can see across all times that he is in the ether. So in effect he should be able to see into the future and know who Samuel is. Also, Richtofen first addresses Samuel when he enters Buried, which is the part of the map that takes place during the events of Moon, and he does seem surprised to see him there.
Samuel? Samuel is still injured?
What? Oh no, not again!
Which would make sense because he's just descended into the control of the zombies and Samuel has popped up, someone he should know for a few years. Then there's Maxis. He isn't in the ether, so how can he address the characters? Especially as he's a digital entity and there are no electronic devices Buried for him to use. But there are electronic devices in the processing area, where Maxis seems to be using speakers or intercoms to communicate. You could just yell down the slide after them, as his voice does seem to be somewhat distant and buried. How he knows the steps to complete the tower though is a mystery. Aside from accessing surveys at the site in a database somewhere, it does seem a little contrived that Maxis would be able to guide the characters in Buried. Finally, there's the ending to the Easter egg. The Easter eggs for both sides create a paradox, where if you complete Richtofen's side, the rockets never hit Earth and destroy it, but if you complete Max's side, Richtofen is deposed from ruling the zombies. Either of the Easter egg endings don't match up with how the Moon Easter egg ended. So how does this explain it? How does this paradox occur? Well, we haven't actually seen any events that appear in the story after this, so this is all guessing. But there are several ideas that could explain it, such as the world split into parallel universes to accommodate the paradox. The whole Buried Transit story is retconned, so the events of Black Ops 2 never existed. We just see the after effects because one of these Easter eggs occurred rather than Moon. There's a number of explanations, but until we see the next maps we won't know what they are. So in summary, the idea of the events in Buried takes place at the same time as Moon is entirely feasible, and it does explain some of the features of the map. It makes the ending a bit confusing because of the paradoxes, etc., but to be honest, Treyarch's never been above bending the laws of physics for a good plot twist. So this theory does seem to be a good one and is probably the truth. So this has been Omagent, thank you for watching and goodbye.